going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant. I know it's been quite a minute. The last review we did was Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is still dominating the box office. And if you haven't watched that yet, or heard our review, or seen it, feel free to check that out. It's spoiler-free as always. So, we're talking about a movie that I was very on the fence about as soon as I heard about it. Because as much as I'm a sucker for dinosaurs and Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, I'm just kind of like, is this going to be good? And if you haven't, if you don't know what we're talking about quite yet, we are talking about the movie The End of Oak Street, written and directed by David Robert Mitchell. For those of you who didn't know, and I didn't realize before this, that he is the director and writer of also one of, I think, the better horror movies in recent years, which is It Follows. And he's currently penning the sequel, They Follow. So this is also going to be a spoiler-free review just because it's a fresh movie in theaters. I think it's definitely worth the watch. So yeah, if you happen to like the movie or you just like when me and Bern grace y'all with our presence, feel free to give us that support with a thumbs up. Ring the bell for notifications, and as always, subscribe just to keep tuning in and enjoying all the rants that we do. So yeah, like I said, the premise of this movie, as best as I can put it, is that a family and their entire neighborhood are randomly uprooted out of nowhere, literally taken out of their town and then sent back hundreds of millions of years ago into prehistoric times where dinosaurs still dominated. And they're struggling to survive and try and get home if that's possible. Again, stars Ewan McGregor and Hathaway, a couple child actors I'm not really familiar with. P.J. Byrne is in it just because I know he's a friend of J.J. Abrams and stuff who produced the movie. And yeah, just the original trailers, like watching it, I was like, should I be excited for this? Just because it's like, they're definitely like a family like in like the 70s, I believe. There's dinosaurs around.
1982.
1980s, I'm sorry. It looked very 70s-esque. I apologize, Bern. It's just one of those things I'm like, is this actually going to work? Because it could be really dumb. And honestly, I was quite surprised by it. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. And I would honestly, the more I've thought about this puts a lot of majority of the Jurassic Park franchise to shame. Aside from my favorite, the first Jurassic World, and of course, you can't beat the original Jurassic Park, but for a dinosaur movie and people involved, this is pretty dang close to just how fun and the horror of the premise that it is. Like you're surrounded by prehistoric creatures that literally either eat vegetables or they eat meat, and you're most likely on the menu. So, but Bern, what did you think about this movie? Like I say, given the premise, did you think this was going to be a dumpster fire, or did you have faith in it, knowing the creatives behind it? What did you think?
This was sort of a hard one to kind of get a gauge on. Like you, I didn't really know what it was going to be like coming into it, just because the premise itself sounds really fun and interesting. But with a lot of like the things that like J.J. Abrams produces, when it comes to like his Bad Robot productions, sometimes the end product isn't always as satisfying as like the setup, you know what I mean? Where it's like once you get the reveal and everything of like what exactly is going on, it's never really as like interesting as sort of the mystery of whatever it was setting up. So, yeah, with that sort of behind it, like, is this going to be like a Cloverfield movie or not? And again, the premise itself sounds pretty fun and outlandish and brings up a lot of questions as to like, how does this all work? And, with the cast involved and also the director involved, it was really all over the place for me. I was like, I didn't really know what I was going to get into, but I was coming in hoping to at least get some really cool dinosaur stuff that I feel like we've been lacking a lot of that in terms of like good content from them. I know we've gotten a lot of dinosaur stuff over the years, namely within the Jurassic Park franchise, and then we have a few other things like other like smaller movies that are use dinosaurs in them as well too. Varying effects. So I would say, like, for me personally, there hasn't been anything sort of dinosaur related that really has caught my interest in a very, very long time, probably since the first Jurassic Park movie, to be honest. And I think, for everything that they did in this movie, I think for me, I'm comfortable in saying at least that this is my next favorite dinosaur movie outside of the first Jurassic Park. In our conversations, you know, I have no love for really any of the sequels of the Jurassic Park franchise. I really only like the first one. Not even The Lost World is for me. So, you know, as someone, you know, who really just liked the first movie, all this other dinosaur content lately has just been lacking for me. But this one really scratched that itch for me that the first Jurassic Park movie left. Not to keep comparing it to that one, but I think this movie sort of takes that on in a sense. I think this movie is very much inspired stylistically by early era Spielberg movies. This feels very Amblin, very DreamWorks. With the way that it's shot, even the music by Michael Giacchino here feels like a lot of the John Williams work that he did early on with Steven Spielberg. So they're paying homage to a lot of these things. It being set in the '80s, the sort of relationship that this family has with each other, and the way that they frame this sort of family story amongst this like bigger like sci-fi thing. Again, it feels very, very Spielberg inspired, and I think for a lot of those elements, it really did work for me. I think they all like pulled it off pretty well. I think the effects here were really good. There's a lot of really fun and exciting and even scary sequences with these dinosaurs. And the way that they play around with, like you said, the neighborhood being in the prehistoric era was really, I think, well done. And it explored all those aspects well, where they didn't leave me in a sense where I'm like, I wish they could have explored that a little bit further, or I wanted to see more of this or that. I was pretty satisfied throughout by the things that they decided to divulge to us, while still keeping the mystery surrounding everything and giving us these exciting moments to punctuate a lot of the fun dinosaur stuff that you sort of want coming into a movie like this. I think this feels very much like an old school, like Steven Spielberg summer blockbuster, and I think that they handled it really well. I think Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway are really fun as like the co-leads of this movie. Anne Hathaway's been having a great year so far, and I think that continues on here. And Ewan McGregor, I think, is always a fun and solid actor to sort of get behind it. The role he plays here is one that I think he's like sort of playing a little bit against type, so that's a little bit fun. And the kids here are really well cast as well. I think that neither of them, kids can get annoying in some movies sometimes. It's not really their fault, it's the way they're written, but for here, for the most part, it was like, okay, like I can understand why they're doing the things they're doing in this wild circumstance that they find themselves in.
Yeah, I would say this one, like the human characters are not the most groundbreaking characters. I could say I don't truly love one more than the other, but I think they're all very solidly written, like where they're definitely a family unit. So I think they all did a really good job on that. Like a good balance of like the dinosaurs and like, the creature action versus the human interaction. And I think a lot of creature features, as you will, they definitely lack that balance. Like sometimes it's more the people, less of the monster, or sometimes it's the monster done horribly that takes up majority of it, and then there's really bad human characters. So I think he did a good job on that balancing act. And honestly, the dinosaur design, I feel like some of them were pretty accurate, just because the science has evolved a lot. Like Jurassic Park, when it came out in the 90s, was given it's genetically engineered dinosaurs, so technically they can have fun with it. It's still sci-fi, but the science back then was a little bit more in line with those. And then since then they made a lot more discoveries. So I think some of the aspects were a little bit accurate. I could be wrong. I'm definitely not a paleontologist. This is just going off bits and pieces that I've seen. But dinosaurs in like the last, I would say, 5 years have kind of gotten popular. We had the series of like Prehistoric Planet on Apple, Dinosaurs on Netflix. I think they also did, I think it's called Planet Earth or something, which is also dinosaurs on Netflix right before this. So, and movies wise, there hasn't been a lot of dinosaurs involved. Like, yeah, we had the Jurassic World movies, but since the first one, which I still like, I know, Bern, you just said you weren't really a fan of those since the first one. The only other solid movie I think is Primitive War. It came out last year, very low budget action sci-fi. Not the best, but I think in terms of dinosaurs, these two movies put majority of the Jurassic franchise to shame. Just because they actually have more fun with it. There's a little bit more dinosaurs involved. Especially this one. There were a couple surprises. I was like, oh, wow, you brought that onto live action. that's awesome, and it worked really well. So given everything we've talked about, like I said, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I'm kind of down to watch it again, but I'm gonna give it a hard three out of 5. Not to say it's like a bad 3 or anything. It's just one of those movies like I liked it, but it's not the most like groundbreaking movie with dinosaurs. Definitely better than like the Jurassic World franchise and that stuff, but still so much fun. Like Byrne said, it's got that classic Hollywood feel with some of the scenes and just the overall feel of the movie. So you got to give respect to that. And I think David Robert Mitchell, he's definitely proven that he's a great writer and director. So makes me more excited for They Follow for sure.
Yeah, like even though like it's not really groundbreaking on a lot of these ends. Again, it's much more of a homage to the early Spielberg movies, and I think it executes on that pretty well. I think it when you go watch this movie, you're gonna get that same sort of feeling that you got from seeing those movies here. And in doing so, it doesn't really feel like the most original or the most like fresh, but it does feel like like a sort of like a little bit of a comfort food in sorts of ways where you're gonna go check out this movie, you're gonna be satisfied like you were satisfied seeing those movies, and at least if you're someone like me, that's gonna feel almost like refreshing in a sense in that you haven't gotten that feeling like that in a long time. So yeah, I mean, I think although the premise itself is a little bit fun and interesting and new, the elements within it aren't really, but the execution of it all, I think, was the thing that really like pushed it over the edge for me, that left me really, really satisfied with this movie. And I do agree with you. David Robert Mitchell did a pretty fantastic job, and the rest of the cast here did good as well. And I think, this feels like a nice sort of break from the more franchise studio oriented stuff that we got with like something like Spider-Man, but it's cool that we're getting these little bit of mixes right now. It's like we get the standard like superhero thing, and we have a lot of more like independent non-IP movies coming out, like the Odyssey and something like this. So it's keeping it fresh and it's keeping it fun, and it's been a really good summer for movies, and I think this movie kept that ball rolling a little bit longer. So yeah, I think for me this one's going to be a high 3 out of 5, not quite a 4, but I would recommend this to anybody who has any interest in checking this out. Go to see this movie, you're going to have a good time.
100%. Yeah, like I said, it's a great movie. It's just not quite 4 or anything. It just didn't wow me to that point, but very surprising fun. So yeah, high 3 out of 5 for both me and Byrne. We still think it's solid. Go check it out. You can check out regular, Dolby, what have you. I don't think it's IMAX, so don't worry about that. But yeah, as we're nearing summer, feel free to let us know in the comments what you thought about this movie, what your favorite movie so far has been this summer. And as we go into fall, I'm really excited. We got a couple more movies coming out this month, but mostly Resident Evil is finally coming out, so can't freaking wait. As always, everyone, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.